Phil. Hi, and great to have you here today.
Hi, good morning, Dave.
Great stuff. Well, Worldwide Timeshare Hypermarket, it's an incredible success story, and it's great to see so many things happening in your world. Phil, I wondered if you could just kind of give us a really nice introduction to Worldwide Timeshare Hypermarket, how it began, where we are today, and basically where we're going into the future.
It all began quite some while ago now. I think it was around 1997. One of our directors was looking at the industry, and he was realizing how much people were being scammed. And even in those early days, people were paying ridiculous monies to register their weeks, and then the results or the companies weren't doing anything about it. They were just taking the money and then disappearing. So he looked into it, investigated, and he thought, this is a good business if it's done properly. So he set up a small company, and within a year we realized that this was a good business if it were done correctly and very upfront. So we bought Worldwide Timeshare Hypermarket from a couple in the Midlands because they had a good website, they had a good presence, and we bought it and moved it all down to Bournemouth. We literally took a year, and it sounds terrible now, but we took a whole year cleaning it all up, tweaking it and getting it to a stage where we felt comfortable with it. And then we've just grown it from there. And that's a simple answer. We've tried all types and styles, and ultimately we've arrived at where we are now, one of the market leaders, if not the market leader in Europe.
You do provide a huge range of services. You cover the entire industry in one way or another. And specifically, you do work with a huge range of big-name developers in the industry. Could you tell us a little bit about the service you provide to them?
Well, if you take companies like Club La Costa, De Vere, Pecci, Seasons, I could go on and on and on. Very simply, we provide a service for them that they're unable to provide for themselves. And the reason I say that is that they already have their own sales team that is selling developer stock. So when a client comes along and says, I want to sell my weeks, the argument there is, well, the developer wants to sell his weeks first before he sells the members' weeks. So he's very loath to take those weeks back and doesn't always provide a resale service. So that's where we come in, and we operate as a resale arm of that particular resort. We will set up a satellite site, somewhere along the lines of De Vere, timeshare resales, etc. And that is a satellite site purely and simply for that resort and that developer. And on that site, the developer can advertise if he wishes, he can rent, he can do all sorts of things, but predominantly we answer as that resale company. And there are other elements that we can build in. We can create a flyby program for them through our indulgence program. We can do rentals for them. And even if they do a part exchange on the resort, in other words, if a client wants to part exchange their product for the developer product, we can actually take that week back off of them and sell it on for them. So it's quite an exclusive way of going about things.
Resales is a big issue to the timeshare industry, and you do get the sense that the tide is turning in favour of as many different techniques and ways to reach out as we possibly can, as more and more people look to exit their ownership because they can't use their week. I mean, at the end of the day, timeshare is a resort industry with heritage. You know, we've come back many, many years now, so it's inevitable that this is going to be the case. Give us an idea, Phil, in terms of how you actually reach out. What are the different channels you use to talk to consumers?
Well, we started off very simply, and we followed the Paradise Club regime, because that's where we originate from, is the Paradise Group. We had two major resorts in Tenerife. We have one in Scotland, but we sold the two in Tenerife. Paradise set up the first off-the-page style of advertising. And everybody said it wouldn't work. You can't put the word timeshare in a newspaper and expect to get a response. However, luckily for us, it proved to be successful. And with Paradise Club, it grew and grew and grew until nowadays we will not put an advert in the paper without the word timeshare in there. However, things evolve. And with the advent of the websites, we had Google, we had the search engine, so we then had to expand onto the web. We've tried radio. We've been on radio. In fact, we spoke to Smooth Radio quite recently. and nowadays predominantly on the television. We've tried all types of things with television, and we've been doing television now nearly 3 years. And we've done digital, we've done terrestrial, and believe it or not, we actually created a half-hour program all about timeshare. And Harry Taylor of Tatok was one of the main presenters on it. He did a fantastic job. And what we did is we put a program there where we told people about timeshare, how it worked. We then showed them examples, and we used McDonald's, we used Club La Costa, we used Paradise Kings Club. We showed them examples of timeshare, but we told them about timeshare warts and all. We didn't hide behind it. We told them that there was management fees. We told them what it covered. And that half-hour program was very successful for us, to the extent that McDonald's have now done a similar thing. They've done their own program as well. So we are evolving even as we speak. But what amazed me was that a resale company was the first company to actually do something on television.
Yeah,
that's where we are currently.
Made a big difference, as you rightly said. Now, typically, resales, and I think through miscommunication or lack of true perception, has been a thorny issue. But I think now, and I think developers are starting to realise exactly how much value there is in an effective resale system. You're bringing guests back into the system. It's a way of recycling the product for the right reasons. Now, last May, just a few weeks ago, in fact, you met with developers and a large number of people representing the industry at a gathering that was organised following the Tatok conference.
That's right.
Everybody kind of agreed that there was a concerted effort required, not only on consumer education, but also on exit strategies, the future of the timeshare industry in general. Phil, you were obviously at that event. You tell us a little bit about how it was received by yourself, generally across the industry, and how you feel about how the industry needs to work together into the future so that the products are sold right.
I think the meeting in itself was a really good idea. The unfortunate part about it, it was the same faces that are always at this type of meeting. And it's not a select few, but it's just a general handful of people that actually want to do something about the industry and want to try and turn it around. To try and get more people involved is the difficult part, because unfortunately the developers, and there's human nature, the developers only want to look after their own result. And when you go to these meetings, you're not talking about your result. You're talking about the industry. And it's very difficult to get some of these developers to realize that unless we do something about it, even their own result will be affected. Sure. So it was nice to see the guys there, and it was nice to hear all the comments, and it was very nice to hear, well, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to try this, and we're going to try that. And the two exchange companies were fantastic with some of the comments they were coming out with. But it's not that group. We know that group is forward-thinking. We know that they will attempt to do something. It's all the other people outside of that group, the individuals, that just don't seem to see further than their own result.
It's a big shame. And you're a salesman at heart. You have a huge and fabulous track record as a salesman, so you know what it takes to reach out to the consumers, whether it's new products, whether it's better exit strategies, short-term trial products, for example. I want you, Phil, just to take your crystal ball out for a second and just give us an idea of what you think it will take to give timeshare a greater, better profile for the future.
Well, I think that the biggest thing for us, and it did come out of this meeting, was that perpetuity was a thing that when we first started timeshare, everything into perpetuity. And maybe we were wrong. Maybe we shouldn't have tied people into perpetuity. And I think now some of the good thinkers are now looking at it and saying, right, we should do a 15-year lease product or even a 10-year lease product where the people know that they're going to pay for something for 10 years or 15 years and then they're free. Because at the moment, the biggest problem is that you've got people in their 70s and 80s that really don't have the money to even pay their management fees or even go away on holiday, but they're tied into something for perpetuity. They can't pass the weeks on, they can't be sold, and they do worry. They do get concerned about the fact they owe money, and they are of a breed that do not like owing money, and it causes major problems. So I think a lot of the changes that are going to happen will be evolving around perpetuity. I think perpetuity will become a thing of the past.
Wonderful. Well, great insights there, Phil. You've been listening to Phil Watson, Managing Director of Worldwide Timeshare Hypermarket, here on today's Timeshare. Wanted to say a very big thanks for joining us, Phil. Hopefully the first of many visits to this show, and look forward to seeing many things happening in the industry with your help and participation into the future. So thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you, David. It was very nice speaking to you.